I must say hello to everyone. Today I'm doing a special program about Israel, the war in Gaza, and also the surrounding Arab neighbors of Israel. Now, Israel must never forget the atrocities, massacre, and murders that Hamas and its militants committed on Israeli soil on October 7, 2023, and must never have a repeat of it ever again. Now, the land of Israel, the Holy Land, belongs only to the children of Israel, which are known as the Jews. Now, in the very first verse in the Jewish Torah or the Holy Bible, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. So God can do whatever he wants to do with mother's earth. On today's map, the land that God has given to Israel, stated in the Torah and the Holy Bible, include everything modern day Israel possesses, plus all the territory occupied by the Palestinians, the West Bank, and also Gaza, plus some of Egypt and Syria, plus all of Jordan. According to the book of Genesis, chapter 15 and verse 18, and the book of Joshua, chapter 1 and verse 4, the land that God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Jacob, gave to Israel include everything from the Nile River in Egypt to Lebanon. The land of Israel is a God-given inheritance of the Jewish people based on the Holy Torah and the Holy Bible, particularly the books of Genesis, Exodus, Joshua, Numbers, and so forth. For the Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake, because it has pleased the Lord to make you, the Israelites, the Israeli, his people. 1 Samuel 12:22. Nothing can change this preeminent fact. Israel is entitled to the land it has and has been for over 3,000 years. In reality, the Jewish people maintain ties to their historic homeland for more than 3,700 years. You will find these in Genesis chapter 15, 17, 26, and 28. Now, the Jewish people have lost possession from time to time of the land of Israel because they had to be on the run from their own land just to avoid persecution and death. But they have never lost their God-given title. God gave the land of Israel to Abraham and to his descendants through Isaac and Jacob, which means the land belongs to the descendants of Jacob, whose name was changed by God to Israel. In other words, the land belongs to the children of Israel, referred to in the New Testament as the Jews. Romans chapter 1 verse 16. Now, there were Canaanites in the promised land that God gave to the children of Israel. But the Canaanites were almost totally obliterated by the Israelis in the 13th century BC. And the few that remained were quickly assimilated into the Israeli culture. The Philistines were seafaring people from Crete, the largest of the Greek islands. The Philistines got their name from the Hebrew word Palestine, which actually means invaded land. Philistines invaded Israel in the 12th century BC. They stayed close to the Mediterranean coast. They never settled in Jerusalem, Hebron, or Jericho that the Palestinians are claiming today. Then it was conquered by the Syrians in the 7th century BC. Then it was conquered by the Babylonians. From this time of the Babylonians, the Philistines have disappeared from the pages of history. Never heard of after. The Philistines' homeland is not Israel, but the Greek island of Crete. Now, in 135 AD, the Roman Hadrian conquered Jerusalem. Hadrian was very determined to eradicate even the memory of the Jews and erase their connection to the land of Israel. So Hadrian removed the region, calling it Syrian Palestina, the Latin translation for Philistines. So Palestinians are not Canaanites, and they are not Philistines. Then who are they? Who are the Palestinians? Biologically, they share DNA with Saudi, Iraqis, Syrians, and Jordanians. They are simply Arabs. Never in history they were a Palestinian people. Never in history there was a Palestinian nation or Palestinian state. They were all Arabs. Now, the Temple Mount in the old city of Jerusalem is very sacred to both the Christians and the Jews. Both group claims historical events give them the right of ownership. The Temple Mount is the holiest site in Judaism and the third holiest in Islam. Muslim tradition said that Muhammad traveled here to the Al-Aqsa Mosque on a night journey, and that tradition formed the basis for the Palestinians' claim to Jerusalem. But there is no record that Prophet Muhammad had ever been there. Even his army didn't arrive there until 5 years after Muhammad's death. The city of Jerusalem never mentioned even once in the Quran, but the Hebrew Bible mentioned it over 600 times. The world must understand that Israel has the right to defend itself by all means. Israel is abiding always with international laws from since day one of the Gazan war. Israel is not bombing innocent civilians deliberately or intentionally. From the very beginning of the war, Hamas and its militants are holding civilians as human shields, and they are caught in crossfiring and become victims in the war. Now, these countries, Iran, Sudan, Libya, Turkey, Russia, and also Yemen, ought to be reminded that Israel is the only democratic country in the Middle East, and they understand international laws and rules quite well. From since day one, Israel has been fighting the Gazan war within international laws. But the United Nations and other world leaders and also Palestinians around the world are shouting genocide, ethnic cleansing. No one is shouting for Hamas and its militants to release all the hostages. Also, South Africa hailed out genocide and called for a ceasefire. The BRICS nations also accused Israel of genocide and called for a ceasefire. None of these countries accuse Hamas and its militants for the massacre and murder they have committed on the Jewish state of Israel on October 7, 2023. Neither did they condemn the kidnapping of their hostages. Why didn't they shout at the very beginning for Hamas and its militants to release all the hostages and also condemn their attack on the Jewish state of Israel? Why didn't they do it? Were they blind? Only now their eyes are opened? If they would have done so, there wouldn't have been so much of destruction and loss of innocent lives in Gaza as it is today. Now they want to gang up on Israel. All the neighboring countries want to gang up on Israel. Isn't that bullying? They attacked Israel, Hamas and its militants, by the permission of Iran. And now Israel is dominating in this war. Now they are calling for a two-state solution. And they don't want to release the hostages, the remaining hostages. Can the United States of America and all the developing countries demand that they release the remaining hostages? And then we can take it from then after. The hostages must be released. That is priority number one. Then after that, they can talk about two-state solution or whatever solution or ceasefire. Hamas must release all the remaining hostages and don't keep the hostages as a bargaining chip. There is no bargaining with the hostages. Release them. Then you can talk after. All these neighboring Arab countries can talk after about solution. The hostages must be released. They have to demand Hamas release the hostages. Let go of them. Now, look at Iran and their proxies in Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Lebanon, Gaza, etc. And Iran is equipping and training them all to attack Israel. Iran knows that if the U.S. remains in the Middle East, they will not be able to attack Israel and be successful. That's the main reason they are targeting the U.S. in Syria, Iraq, and elsewhere, is for the U.S. to totally withdraw from the Middle East. Now, look at the Houthis in Yemen. They are blocking and interrupting cargo ships that are passing through the Red Sea and also attacking them with drones and missiles. They just don't care about transferring of goods and economics. They don't care. They are just calling for Israel to stop the war in Gaza. But are they calling on Hamas to release all the remaining hostages? Why not? Did they condemn Hamas on October 7, 2023 for the massacre, the atrocities, murder that Hamas have committed on the state of Israel? Where were they? Where were all these countries that want to come up now for a peace agreement and for Israel to stop the war? Why now? They did not. Neither did any of the Arab countries that surround Israel condemn Hamas for also the kidnapping of over 250 hostages. But Iran deliberately financed, trained, and supported the attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. Now, if Iran, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and the other Arab countries would have condemned Hamas for the atrocities, massacre, and murders that they have committed on October 7, 2023, and also for the abduction of more than 250 hostages, if they would have condemned Hamas for what they have done, there would not have been so much of destruction in Gaza and also in the Middle East as it is today. So how can there be a ceasefire in Gaza when all these countries want to annihilate the state of Israel? Now, they're asking for a two-state solution. The world can see, if they are not blind by hate, that since 1948 up until now, the Palestinians do not want peace with Israel. Neither the Arab countries that surround Israel want peace with Israel. So a two-state solution will not work or solve the problem. If it didn't work since 1948, it will never work in this present time. The Palestinians are claiming from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. What is that? They really want to eliminate all the Jewish people from the state of Israel. That's what they want to do. Now, it is the other way around. Since 1948 to this present time, February 2024, the Israelis are fighting for survival in their own homeland. Just think of that. Since 1948 up until now, they are just fighting for survival. It's time for them to be free from threats and wars. Can't the world see? The Israelis had many military conflicts fought between various Arab countries. In 1948 to 49, 1956, 1967, 1973, 1982, 2006. The first war, 1948 to 1949, began when Israel declared itself an independent state following the United Nations partition of Palestine and 5 Arab countries: Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. They all attacked Israel. But Israel was victorious by the grace of Almighty God. Then the Six-Day War, June 1967, fought between Israel and the Arab neighbors, Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. Iraq Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Algeria, and others also contributed troops and arms to the Arab forces. Israel again was victorious. Then the Yom Kippur War on October 6 to 26, 1973. This time Egypt and Syria attacked Israel. Israel again was triumphant. Now, these are the fallen Arab countries that attacked Israel before. And they will do it again over and over. As they said, Hamas said, we will do it over and over. These are the fallen Arab countries that attacked Israel before. Egypt, quite a few times. Syria, quite a few times with Egypt. Jordan, quite a few times with Egypt and Syria. Lebanon, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Algeria. All of these nations contributed to the wars of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. These are the three countries that worked together and attacked Israel: Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. Now, how can Israel trust these countries ever again for any peace agreement or any deal? Can Israel trust them again? I don't think so. God gave Israel wisdom and promised to protect them. How can they be trusted when they're coming up for a solution? Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. Why should Israel trust these nations when all work together with Egypt, Syria, and Jordan? Must Israel trust these nations? Come on, world, open your eyes. Come on, United States, all the developing countries of the world. You have to think about Israel, how they can live a peaceful life and never have threats or war again. Would the world promise them that? Just think of it, my friends. All these nations want two-state solution. It can never be. Since 1948 up until now. These nations just want to eliminate the state of Israel. Can the world see that? And then they are coming together for a peaceful agreement, for ceasing of the war, for a two-state solution. How can that be? Since 1948 up until now, Israel is still fighting for survival. Just think of it. Enough is enough. For the Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake. 1 Samuel chapter 12 and verse 22. For I, the Lord, dwell among the children of Israel. Numbers 35:34. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. That is Israel, the children of Israel. Deuteronomy 7 and verse 6. Can a woman forget her sucking child, breastfeeding child, that she should have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget Israel, said the Lord. Isaiah 49:15. Now, the people of Gaza have sinned again and again, and I will not let them go unpunished. So I will send down fire on the walls of Gaza, and all its fortresses will be destroyed. That is in the book of Amos, chapter 1 And then in Zechariah chapter 8, chapter 12, and chapter 14. Thus said the Lord of hosts, behold, I will save my people from the east country and from the west country, and I will bring them, and they shall dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God, in truth and in righteousness. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Just think of that. That is thus said the Lord in the book of Zechariah, chapter 8, chapter 12, and chapter 14. My friends, I want the world to know that no weapon that is formed against Israel shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against Israel in judgment shall condemn. No matter what weapon is formed against Israel, it will never succeed. Whether it be the false accusations of the United Nations or atomic warfare, Israel need not fear ultimate destruction, since the secret of her indestructibility is the overshadowing hand of Almighty God. The God of Israel will destroy everyone who fights against Israel the same way he destroyed the Egyptians at the Red Sea when they were coming after the children of Israel. Now, the countries that are seeking destruction of Israel, Iran, Sudan, Libya, Turkey, Russia, and also Yemen, must remember as a lesson what King David, the little shepherd boy, did to Goliath. And you will find that in 1 Samuel chapter 17. Now, the world should go against Hamas for them to release the remaining hostages. That is the biggest concern of the world, not only for Israel, the world. Let them release all the remaining hostages. No bargaining for anything else. Release them. They were taken by force into Gaza. Hamas should release all. After then they can talk about bargaining and two-state solution or whatever peace treaty they want to have. Release the hostages. That must be demanded by the world. All the developing countries, let them release the remaining hostages so the war can slow down, and then they can do their bargaining. Think of this. Since 1948, Israel has been fighting for survival, threats and wars. It is time for them to relax, but release the hostages, and then the other neighboring countries can come forward and talk, but not the ones that had war with Israel before, as I mentioned in this video. None that are mentioned in this video should come forward for any deal of two-state solution. It wouldn't work. Israel should never trust those nations that attacked them before. So release the remaining hostages, and then the world can talk after for a two-state solution, but it will never work, because since 1948 up until now, Israel has been fighting for survival. So if the world thinks that Israel is wrong, Israel is not wrong. They have to defend themselves and their people. They are not wrong. But the innocent Palestinians are being caught because Hamas took them all as human shield. And they are caught. And Hamas leaders, they are among these civilians, firing missiles against the Israelis. So Israelis have no choice. They are trying to save as much civilians they can save. But can they stand still while Hamas is attacking them among civilians? Come on, world. Just think of it. So the world must go after Hamas for the releasing of the remaining hostages. I hope this video has opened your insight so you can have a base of the state of Israel and the Jewish people. Thank you for listening to this video. And if you think that I spoke of the truth today, everything is in history, is in the Bible, is in the Holy Torah, the Jewish Torah, and I spoke out today the fact. And if you agree with me, you like my program, you like my channel, please press the subscribe button. Thank you, and may the Lord bless you.